Welcome everyone to another exciting episode of the Shade and Shit Talking Podcast. I am your host TK, and as always, I thank you for tuning in. Now, we have a lot of shit that went on this week, both presently and historically, that I really want to get into and talk about. But before I do, I just want to take a brief moment to send out my love and thoughts and prayers and condolences to Florida, who's going through something right now with Hurricane Michael. As of today, the death toll is up to 11, and it was expected to climb higher. Emergency workers are working very hard, going through rubble, looking for people. And for those of you who don't know, this hurricane hit the panhandle of Florida. It was a Category 4 hurricane that flattened blocks, collapsed buildings, and crippled their infrastructure. So, much love to the state of Florida and the residents and everything that they're going through right now. You know, you are with us. So now, I just want to go back to last week's episode, which was dedicated strictly to breast cancer awareness. As we all know, as I stated then, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, both here and internationally, and it is something that we all should be very aware of because it affects black women in such a high rate, and it kills at such a high rate that we should, understand this disease and continue to talk about it, continue to reach out to those that may be suffering from it, continue to educate those who don't know much about it with the hopes of it helping them. Now, if what I've done helps only one person, then I feel like I have done my part, but that's not my aim. If I can help one, I can help two. If I can help two, I can help four, and so on and so forth. So, once again, ladies and gentlemen, it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and let's, continue to attack this thing from all sides, at all angles, and continue to help and educate each other. One thing that I did miss last week was that it was also Mental Health Awareness Week, and that, just like breast cancer, holds a certain stigma in the black community. Now, back in May, for Mental Health Awareness Month, we launched a podcast episode, myself, Dr. Calibra Jenkins, Professor Lars Johnson, and we, talked about the stigma associated with mental illness in the black community and our refusal to deal with it head on and talk about it head on. And it's the same thing with breast cancer. They both have that same stigma, and we still hold on to the idea that we can just pray it away, and we can't. So if you know someone who suffers from any type of mental illness, mental problems, help them to help themselves. Some people, may not recognize it. Some people may recognize it and refuse to get help. So, do what you can and play your part in improving the physical and mental health of our communities. I mean, in order for us to progress and move forward, we have to be strong. We have to be here for one another. And health is a huge key to the success of our communities. So, once again, thank you all for participating in what we do. And, I received a lot of positive feedback from last week's episode, and it really touched my heart because, people were listening and people thought, enough of what I said to contact me and to pay it forward. So, let's just keep doing that, you all.
Oh, say, can you see I'm coming to America?
So this past Monday was a national federal holiday, Christopher Columbus Day. And a lot of you, especially those of you who work for the government, work for banks, some school districts, you got the day off. Congrats. I ain't hating. I was at work, but fuck it. But this holiday is used as a way to commemorate the year, the date 1492 that Christopher Columbus, and I'm using air quotes here, but you can't see me, discovered America. So, first of all, I'm not a scholar. I'm not a professor. I'm not a history teacher. I mean, I think I'm kind of smart. But with that being said, I know for a goddamn fact that you cannot discover anything that has already been inhabited. I mean, that's like, me breaking into one of y'all goddamn house and discovering a 60-inch TV and me claiming it as my own since I goddamn found it. But in the whitewash history books that they're still using in the schools, Columbus discovered America. Oh yeah, I still laugh at that notion. But first of all, shout out to Alaska, Florida, Hawaii, Oregon, South Dakota, and Vermont, because they don't recognize Christopher Columbus Day as a holiday. And they actually replaced it with celebrations of Indigenous Peoples Day. So big shout out to them for weaving through the bullshit and saying, nope, we not gonna accept that. But listen, people, Christopher Columbus did not discover America. Not even close. Now he helped to bring the colonization to what became known as North and South America. He did that shit. But he was a thief. He was a slaver. He was a murderer. He was a rapist. And he's y'all's hero. And the Italian Americans are big mad about this shit, about people not accepting the fact that he is what he is and he didn't do what they say he did. And that, whatever. I understand he's Italian, he's one of y'all heroes, but that still don't make it right. I mean, shit, Cosby black, we ain't fucking with him. Wrong is wrong. But, man, I still can't believe, how people are still, going forward with this bullshit. But I just let me say that, again, Columbus wasn't the first explorer to discover America. And his voyages were significant because they were the first to become widely known in Europe. And they opened a pathway of colonization from the old world to the new that paved the way for Europe and all of them to conquest and colonize the Americans. They came, killed all the indigenous people, the Indians, infected them with their diseases, and what the ones that disease didn't kill, they murdered them, and they forced them off, land that they had, that they owned and lived off of. So He's no hero. Again, he's a thief, a murderer, a rapist, and a slaver. And you can take it how you want for those in the back who feel some type of way. Moving on. So this week, Brett Kavanaugh was sworn in as the newest Supreme Court Justice. Now, a sharply divided Senate, which is a direct reflection of this deeply divided nation that we living in, they pretty much voted right along party lines on last Saturday, to confirm Brett Kavanaugh to the U.S. Supreme Court. And he was sworn in 2 hours later in a private ceremony. All the while, protesters were on the court steps. He became the nation's 114th Supreme Court Justice, and Donald Trump's Agent Orange's second appointment to the court. And by doing that, he has created a conservative majority on the nation's highest court for years to come. I honestly believe we are in goddamn trouble. In trouble. I mean, first of all, we all know where Agent Orange, where he stands, and when it comes to laws and programs and whatnot that affect a huge majority of black people and people of color. You know, he and his ilk are doing the very best that they can to get rid of all that shit. Every last bit of it. He has worked tirelessly to remove anything that was seen as positive with Obama's name on it. And they're going to move just right on down the line to all the other shit that positively affects black people and people of color. But anyways, so they voted, and the Senate vote was 50 to 48. And out of that 50, one Democrat, Mr. Joe Manchin of West Virginia, joined the Republicans in backing Kavanaugh. So, and obviously, you know, they are very, very happy about it. They are very excited about him being, you know, sworn in or whatever. But I don't know, folks. All I can tell you is it's in your best interest, my best interest, everybody's best interest to goddamn vote this coming midterm, because they ain't playing no games, man. Now, we can't really do anything about the presidential election right now, but you can change the goddamn tide by getting rid of a lot of these bullshit ass senators, a lot of these bullshit ass governors who only care about the GOP and not really about their constituents. They care about the money. And you know how, you know, the saying goes, if you want to find the goddamn truth about anything, you follow that money trail. So this, I hope you all are registered to vote. I know I am. As a matter of fact, for those of you in Mississippi, speaking of voting, we have a judicial forum coming up October the 30th in Jackson, Mississippi, where local candidates, judicial candidates, will be there to present themselves to the public. And we will also stream it live on Facebook on Black with No Chaser as well, and Twitter, I believe. But these candidates get a chance to present themselves, tell where they stand, talk about the programs and things that they want to bring about, and you know, make their case of why they should be voted in and how that will help the community of Jackson. So for those of you in Jackson, surrounding areas, Go check it out, October 30th at Freelawns. As a matter of fact, Tyson Jackson, also Black with No Chaser, will be joining me to talk more about it in depth to really let you guys know. But anyways, make sure that we get out and vote, because we gonna need all the goddamn help we can get. And speaking of needing some goddamn help,
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
Negro, please.
Man. Now, I talked earlier about, mental health, and this nigga has mental problems. I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. Now, let me just start off by saying, hey, you can support whomever you want to support. You can do whatever you want to do. You want to wear a goddamn MAGA hat, that's your goddamn business, man. That's your business. I don't care. A lot of people don't care. But it's when you start talking crazy and reckless as if you are speaking for the entire black community, that is the problem. Again, you want to support IQ 45, you go right on ahead. You can kiss his ass, lick his balls, whatever the fuck you want to do. Don't care. But the shit that you are doing is detrimental to the black community. Seriously. Like, first of all, and my beef with him ain't just with this shit with Donald Trump. It's a series of bullshit that he continuously does and follows up with it, even bigger bullshit that bothers me. And before anybody at me or anything, I don't give a fuck about his music. I don't give a fuck. I was never a huge Kanye fan. I appreciated some of his work. That's it. I was never just his, I love, yeah, he's the best. Nah. No. So, you listen to his music, whatever. That's your business. I don't care. I'm not telling you or anybody else what to do. I'm only speaking for myself and how I feel. So, anyways, the whole slavery was a choice thing, the whole little TMZ rant he did, is crazy. But then he follows that up with the whole abolish the 13th Amendment. Now, let me just say, for those of you who don't know what the 13th Amendment is, because I've actually had, conversations with people who didn't know, who couldn't understand my gripe with what he said about the 13th Amendment. So the 13th Amendment is in the Constitution, and it abolished slavery and involuntary servitude except as punishment for a crime. Now, he's got his supporters that said, and it's just like the same with fucking Trump. Well, he said it, but that's not what he meant. Nah, fuck that. If you are going to get your ass on national TV and get your ass in front of millions of people, you need to know what the fuck you talking about. And that's his biggest fucking problem. Kanye is not qualified to be doing the shit that he's doing. And I'm not really surprised, because our president ain't qualified to be doing what the fuck he doing. I don't even think he qualified to be considered a fucking human being, but whatever. So, he gets up there and he says all these wild and crazy things, and he's not qualified to do that. Now, when I talk on this goddamn podcast, anything that I talk about that's got any type of historical nature to it, I research the shit. I don't just, I don't go to the first thing that I see and say, okay, this is it. No. I research, I reference and cross-reference the shit for accuracy. because I don't want to look stupid and I don't want to give out false information. But this nigga, he don't give a fuck. And again, you support him, hey, that's your business. Some of y'all can't separate the music from the person. That's your business. But this nigga is a clown. A straight up clown that is detrimental to black people. And what really irks me about this situation are the ones who's the Laura Ingrahams and Tucker Carlsons and Rush Limbaughs and shit of the world. You know, the Tommy Lorenz, the total racist douchebag shitheads who went completely out of their way to tell LeBron, shut the fuck up and dribble. To tell Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reed and Malcolm Jenkins to stand the fuck up and play. To tell, you know, celebrities, hey, shut the fuck up and stick to acting. But not a single one of you assholes, not a single one of you, and not a single one of his supporters have said, Kanye, shut the fuck up and stick to music and stick to them raggedy ass, ugly ass clothes and shoes. No, zero. Crickets, goddammit. Crickets when it comes to that. So, you know, once again, that just proves the hypocrisy of those people and where they stand. It's only right if it works for them. It's only right. So, you know, I tell you what, Kanye, I'm glad that hat has made you feel like Superman, and that's your red cape. You put that motherfucker on and you fly the fuck off a cliff or wherever you go. Just leave, because you are not helping the situation. You take your ass up there, and Jim Brown, but you know, Jim is old. He's forgotten. He's forgotten how they wanted to string his ass up for beating up white women. But you know, long as you shucking and jiving, buck dancing, ass kissing, I guess all is forgiven. Fuck him too, by the way. But you know, I'm gonna just leave y'all with a quote from Kanye's bae, his boo, his master. He says that, hey, when it comes to Kanye, he can speak for me anytime he wants. He's a smart cookie. He gets it. Well, you go right on ahead, little cookie. You go right on ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gather around for this week's episode of Colonizing Nonsense. My first colonizer nonsense moment takes me to my home state of Mississippi. Shit. Headline: Wayne County schools no longer buy Nike products. Now, the Wayne County School District is saying that they will no longer be buying Nike products in light of the company's recent advertising campaign with Colin Kaepernick. A school official said that this is in support of the Mississippi Highway Patrol's decisions to stop purchasing anything Nike. And on that note, MHP, y'all got a lot more issues to be worrying about than a motherfucker buying Nike. But I digress. Now, the superintendent, one Mr. Bobby Jones, he said that he supports people buying whatever the fuck they like. But he's a steward of the department's money and he can no longer support the Nike brand. Now, he says, and I quote, "First responders, our military, our police, they all have such a thankless job, you know. They're a lot like our teachers and our educators, our principals and our administrators. So I wanted to be in support of them just like I would love for them to be in support of us." Man, listen. I'm so sick of you colonizers talking this same old tired bullshit line about what this man represents. It has nothing to do with first responders, the military. Matter of fact, that's the reason why he fucking knelt instead of sitting, out of respect for the military. God, y'all get on my goddamn nerves. But listen, Bobby, what you need to be worried about is that pitiful ass school district. Now, out of 134 in the state, you motherfuckers are below average. So, unless you gonna use that money on the cheaper stuff that you buy to hire goddamn tutors and more teachers and pay your goddamn teachers, you need to worry about that instead of what the fuck Colin and Nike doing, dummy. My next colonizer nonsense moment takes me to the great state of Arkansas, I guess. Now, the story goes that an Arkansas sheriff is putting inmates in Nike t-shirts as a way to mockingly protest Nike having Colin Kaepernick as the face of their 30-year campaign. Now, in this story, this sheriff is putting inmates in t-shirts for mugshots, and a story came out that was broken by Sean King, and he also had a collage of 12 pictures, and every single one of them has on a Nike shirt. Now, the man who's responsible for this is Union County Sheriff Ricky Roberts. And since that news broke and it went national, Union County Sheriff's Office removed all of the photos from the jail roster that was online. So this guy, he is saying that it's a big misunderstanding, that the outrage that it created is wrong. But here's my thing, and he says this because they only did it because people didn't have proper attire or whatever. Now, if these motherfuckers was getting arrested and coming in that bitch butt naked, he may have a goddamn point. But you and I both have seen plenty of goddamn mugshots, and they don't give a fuck what they got on. We've seen blood, we've seen holes in shirts, we've seen shit, damn near everything. So that excuse really doesn't hold weight. It sounds like some bullshit, and I can't believe you even had the gall to even say it. But of course, the only ones who believe that are the colonizers, so it don't really matter. But he says that it was brought to his attention that those who feel that one of our shirts of choice may be viewed as inappropriate, please understand, I require that this office treats everyone equally and equitably within the law. We are not and will not be influenced by current political and social debates in the media. Well, I've spoken to a few residents who lives in El Dorado, Arkansas, in that area, and they all unanimously said that that is a lie. So, Union County, get your shit together. Stop playing these goddamn games. See, that's the problem. That's why this kneeling is brought about. Because the government, the people who are supposed to serve and protect, playing these bullshit games and treating people with utter disrespect, no empathy, no sympathy, just straight bullshit. My final colonizer nonsense moment takes me to Marietta, Georgia. Headline: Woman calls police on black man babysitting white children in Georgia. A black man in Marietta, Georgia, who was babysitting two white kids, said a woman followed him and reported him to the police. Now, the guy's name is Corey Lewis. And he was outside of a Cobb County Walmart with two white children that was under his care when a woman approached him, a white woman, naturally, and asked him to speak to the little girl. And he told his bitch no. Well, he said that the woman threatened to take down his car registration and then followed him to his house. So, now he was filming all this shit, and he showed that he was sitting in the car with the kids in the back seat, and this woman was parked across the street just sitting there waiting on him. And then she indeed followed him home, and the police showed up. And I have a real problem with this shit. First of all, if that was a white guy with 2 black kids, this wouldn't even be a story. You know, this same white lady would have saw him with the 2 black kids, and I honestly believe and honestly think she would have just went on about her business. She'd have viewed him as some type of savior, you know, taking care of those poor little downtrodden black kids, doing God's work. But she is conditioned to think the worst when she sees a black man with 2 white kids. Now, I could understand if the kids were running around, screaming, yelling for help. None of that happened. All they was doing was just minding their goddamn business. Now, let me tell you something. First of all, we ain't kidnapping no kids. Second of all, we ain't kidnapping no white kids. And if by some small, minute chance that he was kidnapping them, he ain't taking them to no goddamn Subway to eat, and he damn sure ain't buckling their asses up in no goddamn car seats. But anyway, the officer, came to his house, and I don't really blame the officer because he was doing his job. But the one thing that bothered me about this policeman was the fact that he repeatedly, and I mean repeatedly, asked these kids, are they okay? Are you okay? And, the little girl told him who the guy was and all this shit, and yet and still he didn't believe him. And then he acted surprised when the guy told him that he had a business that he was running and so forth. I mean, god damn, man, just add this to the list of other things you can't do while being black. And one of them now is babysit 2 little white kids. Welcome to a segment that I like to call For the Culture. And with this segment, I pick historically significant events within the black culture to bring to you guys, because a lot of these things I didn't know, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you didn't know. So in order to continue to learn and educate one another, I felt that it was important to bring some of these things to the forefront. So the first thing that I want to talk about, and it actually ties into a second part of this, is in 1940, the NAACP created the Legal Defense and Educational Fund, which became known as the LDF. Now, the purpose of this, it was to seek structural changes to expand democracy, eliminate disparities, and achieve racial justice in a society that fulfills the promise of equality for all Americans. Now, it was primarily focused on the civil rights of black folks in the U.S., and it is stated that it has been instrumental in the formation of similar organizations that have replicated its organization model in order to promote equality for African Americans, Asian Americans, Latinos, and women in the United States. Now, it had its main areas of activity was litigation, advocacy, educational outreach, coalition building, providing scholarships for exceptional black students. And one of its major victories, major cases, happened in October of 1962. And this was the case of Meredith versus Fair. Now, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I am talking about James Meredith winning his case to gain admission to the University of Mississippi, Ole Miss. Now, in 1962, he became the first African-American student at the University of Mississippi. The school initially refused a U.S. Supreme Court order. That's how much the motherfuckers hated black people. They refused a U.S. Supreme Court order to integrate, and they literally blocked his entrance. There was a large campus riot, and people actually died during this shit. And he was admitted under the protection of federal marshals. Like, that's crazy to think that you have to go through all that shit just to go to school. The hate ran that deep. The hate still runs that deep. Trust me. But in the end, he did indeed graduate after a short tenure. He graduated in 1963, and he wrote a memoir about his experience with Ole Miss called 3 Years in Mississippi. So, shout out to James Meredith for being a civil rights icon and a trailblazer. Another civil rights icon and trailblazer that I wanted to bring up is Thurgood Marshall. On October the 2nd, 1967, Thurgood Marshall was sworn in and became the first black Supreme Court justice. Now, he served on in this position for 24 years up until October of 1991. Now, during those 24 years, he compiled a liberal record that included strong support for constitutional protection of individual rights, especially the rights of criminal suspects. He was also supporting abortion rights and opposing the death penalty. And he was also best remembered for his jurisprudence in the fields of civil rights and criminal procedure. But he did make significant contributions to other areas of law as well. So, once again, Thurgood Marshall, October 2nd, 1967, became the first black Supreme Court justice in the United States. And finally, October 14th, 1964, the good Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. became the youngest man to win the Nobel Peace Prize. Martin Luther King Jr. became the youngest man to win the Nobel Peace Prize, 1964. Wow. Now, these have been your For the Culture facts, brought to you by Shade and Shit Talking, powered by Black with No Chaser. Make sure you share with all your friends. Welcome to another segment of This Week in Sports. So right now we are in the throes of baseball playoff season. My Atlanta Braves got their ass spanked by the Dodgers and got kicked out real quick. I was very disappointed about it, but I ain't really mad because they wasn't supposed to be there anyway. So hell, they overachieved. So shout out to the Atlanta Braves. We'll be back and stronger next year. Now, since my Braves out, I still root for the Houston Astros because that's where I'm at, and I go to a few games a year, so I really support the Astros as well. And right now, they're about to start a series, the AL Championship Series against the Boston Red Sox. I really ain't got nothing against Boston. I hate the New York Yankees, so shout out to Boston for beating them. But the Astros about to get in your ass. It is what it is. Go ahead and accept it. Speaking of baseball, and I really didn't bring it up in the For the Culture, but now is just as good as time as any to bring it up. So on this day, October 3rd, 1974, Frank Robinson became the manager of the Cleveland Indians. He was a most valuable player in both leagues for Cincinnati and Baltimore. But what's significant about this date is he became the first black manager in Major League Baseball. So, shout out to Frank Robinson. In NBA news, and I gotta tell you, October is my favorite sports month of the year. You got baseball playoffs going, you got the start of the NBA season, and you got NFL just really cranking it up, getting it to the second quarter of the season, as well as college football in full swing. So I really love this time of the month. Speaking of football, shout out to my hometown Hattiesburg High Tigers, who really just destroying everybody that they go up against. Matter of fact, I've already taken off work so I can be there in the SIP for the state championship game, because I know they will be there. Now, in NBA news, right now, all the talk is about Jimmy Butler and his goings-ons with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Man, this nigga is bringing all the smoke to Minnesota. He told them niggas, hey, you will not win without me. Now, this was said after he took the third stringers and niggas who ain't gonna make the team and beat the first stringers in practice. Damn, I know they feel like shit. But anyways, Jimmy is looking to get traded the fuck out of Minnesota, and I don't blame him. Man, it's cold as shit up there, and they ain't winning a goddamn thing. Over in the NFL, this week we have a couple of big games going on. None bigger, in my opinion, than the Steelers versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Man, them motherfuckers can't stand each other. They hate each other more than Crips and Bloods. They hate each other more than police and unarmed black people. Those two are not playing, and every time they play, they go hard in the paint. I guarantee you, somebody gonna get their ass cracked. Somebody's getting hurt. Now, I hope it's not career-ending like it was for Ryan Shazier last year, but I definitely see them going at it and going at it really, really hard. Speaking of hard, I hope my New York Jets come out and beat the living shit out of the Indianapolis Colts. They are without T.Y. Hilton. They are without Jack Doyle, and my team needs to come on and put it on their ass. By the way, fuck the Miami Dolphins. Can't stand them. Same division, can't stand them. And finally, I know I'm a little bit late. This happened back on September 23rd, but I didn't get a chance to talk about it last couple podcasts because it really, wasn't on my radar. But Tiger Woods won the Tour Championship for his 80th career victory on the PGA Tour. Now, the last few tournaments that he played in, Tiger has looked a lot better, which leads me to believe two things. One, Tiger Woods is back healthy and ready to roll. And two, he back on them hoes. Well, this has been another week in sports brought to you by Shade and Shit Talking Power by Black with No Chaser. And I will see you guys next week. Now, before I get out of here, I just need to make a couple of quick announcements and talk about some things I missed earlier. First and foremost, get ready for the launch of the Black with No Chaser website. We are so excited about it. We're very amped about it. A lot of hard work and preparations went into this, and we will be launching our own website free of the restrictions of Facebook and Twitter and everybody else. So be on the lookout for that. Please make sure you sign up and follow us and continue to help us grow and prosper and do this thing for the culture. Speaking of for the culture, we've had a lot of music come out. We got Lil Wayne out right now. We got T.I. with something new right now. Those are the two hottest albums out. I personally hadn't heard a lot of either one of them, but once I get time to just sit back and listen, I most definitely will. In other entertainment news, you got Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish with Night School in theaters, and make sure you guys go out and see The Hate U Give. Now, for those of you who don't know what that is, The Hate U Give is a novel, a young adult novel, a movie based off a young adult novel that was written by Angie Thomas, and I'll get to her in just a second. But this story follows the life of a black 16-year-old girl who is drawn into activism after she witnesses the police shooting of a childhood friend. Now, that could be the story of so many of our young people, so many of our people, period. So it's very relevant to the culture and what's going on right now. Now, this book came out in February of 2017. It debuted at #1 on the New York Times Young Adult Bestseller list, and it remained there for 50 weeks. It received positive reviews and won several awards. And this book is the debut novel of Angie Thomas, and it was based off a short story that she had written in college following the shooting of Oscar Grant. Many of us still remember that. But one thing that really made me want to bring this up, well, one is because she's a black woman who's doing something very positive, moving the culture forward. But two, she is a proud Mississippian. She was born and raised and continues to live in Jackson, Mississippi. Also, she has another novel coming out in 2019 called On the Come Up. So make sure you support this woman, this black woman, this fellow Mississippian. Go check out the movie. I'm pretty sure, well, I'm hoping, she gets paid on the front and back end of this. So make sure you check it out. That's The Hate U Give by Miss Angie Thomas. Also, another quick reminder, October 30th, we will have the judicial review at Free Lawns in Jackson. This is where these judicial candidates get to come out and talk to the public, let you know who they are, and make you a more informed voter, so that you can be more aware of what's going on and see who's really about the culture and the community. That's October 30th, Free Lawns, Jackson, Mississippi. Now, I just want to say, as always, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the love and encouragement. Hell, thank you for the criticism. I enjoy it all. Speaking of support, make sure you check out The Sip Culture by my boy James Betts. Another strong movement coming out of Mississippi. Make sure you check out Melanated Millennials Investment Group. We got a bunch of new things going on there. We launched a website there as well, so make sure you go check it out. That's MMIG. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter as well. Same with Black with No Chaser for now. So keep your eye out for us. Make sure you keep an eye out for each other. Don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe and the okie doke. And remember, Kanye is a coon. So I will see you guys next week.
Oh, thank you.
The podcast you just heard was published with Anchor. Got something you want to say to the creator of this show? Send them a voice message using the Anchor app, free for iOS and Android.